Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mostly From Scratch. I am your host, Mr. Munchies, and today I am going to show you how to make a killer pound cake. So let's get off with the ingredients. You're going to need 3 cups of all-purpose flour. You're going to need 3 cups of granulated sugar. You're going to need a half a cup of cocoa powder. This is baking cocoa powder. See that? I'm sure everybody knows what it is. If not, you can find it in the baking section. We've got a cup of buttermilk. We have 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. We have a cup of butter, which is 2 sticks at room temperature, and we have 6 eggs at room temperature. So we're going to assemble this. This is going to go into a heavy cast iron bundt pan. Okay, so let's put that aside and let's get to our assembly. So you want to take a bowl. Of course, you always want to add or incorporate your dry ingredients first. So that's our 3 cups of flour. We're going to add our baking soda and our salt. Now the sugar and the cocoa powder are going to wait because the sugar and the butter are going to be creamed together. Let's put our buttermilk and our vanilla aside and just give this a quick blend with a fork, just so we get that salt and baking soda, not baking powder, baking soda. Just get those mixed in. Okay, they're pretty well incorporated there, so we'll set that to the side. Grab another bowl, and what we're going to do is we're going to cream our butter and our sugar. And I still got cocoa on my finger. The cocoa by itself is not sweet at all. There's no sweetness to it whatsoever. Okay, so we're going to put our butter in the bowl. And we're going to pour our sugar on top of that. And we are going to cream that together. Get these out of the way. Take your mixer, start it out on a low. See what that looks like? Almost kind of looks like scrambled eggs. Just keep creaming that together. Now I am going to get a bigger bowl. That was kind of poor planning on my part there. So we're going to put this in a bigger bowl now and get something to scrape it with. Alright, that'll give us a little more room to work with. Let's get everything out of there. Especially when we start adding the other stuff to it. Alright, let's get this thing going again. Alright, now that we have a bigger bowl, we can start jacking up the speed a little bit. Okay. That still kind of looks like scrambled eggs, but it's a little bit smoother. It's about as smooth as it's going to get. I mean, you could whip it for a long time and you'll get it really, really smooth, but it's not necessary. Okay, so to this, we're going to add our vanilla extract. Whip that in. Now we're going to add our eggs one at a time. So, crank that on. Add an egg and then blend it in. Egg number 2. Keep an eye, make sure you don't drop any shells in there. You want nothing crunchy. Number 3. See how this is starting to smooth out? And periodically you want to take your scraper and just push everything off the sides. Alright, another egg. And that just got all over the floor. And okay, get this one mixed in. Number 5. I'm going to go ahead and put the 6th one in there now because it's pretty well blended. And wow, that was a tough egg. Tough egg to crack. Get that out of the way. Get the egg off my hands. And get this blended really well. Scrape our sides one time. And then give it a good beating on a medium high. Okay, take a look at this. See how nice and creamy that is? Make sure you scrape your sides. Now, we're going to add our buttermilk. And get that blended in. we have to incorporate our dry ingredients with our wet ingredients. So what I'm going to do is just dump this in about a third of it, and then just kind of mix it around with the spoon first. A little bit more. And the rest of it. Get this turned in with the spoon a little bit so flour doesn't go flying everywhere when you crank up the mixer. Alright, let's hit it again with the mixer. Medium-high speed. Probably for about 30 seconds or so. See what it looks like. Scrape our sides one more time. And crank it up. Okay, the batter is made. Take a look at this. It almost looks like buttercream frosting. Now, this is where the fun begins. Okay, now at this point, you have yourself a base for an endless number of combination of things. You can add just so many different things to this batter right now to make it however you want. You could take some of it aside and add some pumpkin spice to it, and then combine them together. You can add pumpkin spice to the whole thing. You can add chocolate to the whole thing. Just so many different combinations. So what I am going to do is take out about a cup to a cup and a half of batter. Get a clean measuring cup here. So that's a half. The hefty half. 1 cup. I'm going to go with just a little bit more. It's almost a cup and a half. I'd say it was probably a good cup and a half. Okay, now we're going to take that, set that aside, and we're going to add our cocoa powder to this part here. So add your cocoa powder in. Now, I am not really going overboard with the cocoa powder because I don't want it that chocolatey. But once you try this and you want to do it again, if you want to add a little more cocoa powder to it to make it even more chocolatey, knock yourself out. Let's get that off our spoon. Get this mixed together. Yeah, cocoa powder. There we go. Let's blend this with the fork a little bit first. Get that powder mixed in. Ah, see? Very fine powder. It has no problem jumping out of the bowl. Alright, got that worked in a little bit. Now let's hit it with the blender again. Scrape down our sides one time. Get that cocoa off of there. And one last mix on high. And there you have your batter, which now it kind of looks like chocolate mousse. It's a little stiff, just about like chocolate mousse. Okay, so now we have our chocolate batter, we have our vanilla batter. Let's get this mess out of the way here. And now we need to take our pan, and instead of greasing and flouring the pan, we're going to grease and sugar it. So I'm going to use a cooking spray because it gets down in these little nooks and crannies a lot easier than trying to use a paper towel with grease on it or your fingers. Now I'm just going to rub it around a little bit, make sure we get it all nice and even in there. Don't forget to do the flute, this part here. Get that covered well. Okay, now we've got it pretty well covered. You want to take your sugar and just dump some in there. And start shaking it around. Get the whole inside of the pan coated nice and well. Add a little bit more. This is the tricky part. Getting the flute. Okay, got to do one of these things here. Toss it around. Okay, you see that? The whole thing's all nice and coated with sugar. Now, if that's done, we're going to take our chocolate mix and get that in there. Almost smells like brownie batter with the cocoa in there. Oops. Yum. Okay, now that we've got our chocolate batter in there, you got to use your fingers, because how else are you going to taste it? I know I shouldn't be doing that because it's got raw egg in it, but it hasn't killed me yet, so we're good to go. Now we're going to take our vanilla batter. Take a look at this. See that? Take our vanilla batter and put it right around the center. Just spoon that on there. Now if you wanted to do some type of marbling effect, after you spoon in your second layer, you can take your spoon or the back of the spoon or a knife and just kind of push it down and zigzag it through there. And as it bakes, it'll give you a nice marbling effect. Okay, and there we have it. Take a look at that. I don't want to. Here, I'm going to tilt the camera down so it doesn't slide out of the pan. See that? Now this is going to go into a 325 degree oven for approximately 90 minutes. Now, if you don't have a bundt pan like this, and you're, say for instance, you're using maybe a springform pan, your time is going to vary. Your time will vary if you are using a silver pan compared to a black pan. So you generally want to start off with at least an hour, 60 minutes, and then start checking it, because your oven's going to make a difference, your pan's going to make a difference, but this should go about 90 minutes. I'm going to check it probably about at the 80-minute mark. So I'm going to stick this in the oven. When it is done, I will pull it out and take a look at it. Ooh, see what that looks like? That's got about another 10-15 minutes to go, and then I'm going to be pulling it out. Alright, look at that. This has been out of the oven now for about an hour. It took approximately 80 minutes to cook. And you always test it with a toothpick. You know that trick, right? So now, we're going to turn it out onto our cake holder. Hopefully this will fall right out. And there we go. Doesn't that look nice? It's still a little warm, so we're going to cut into it. Use a lightly serrated knife. And there you have it. Look at that. Now what you can do when you're doing this is, if you take half of your chocolate batter, put that in first, and then put your vanilla batter on there, and then the rest of your chocolate batter, that'll give you a nice little white center. But it's still all going to taste good, so let's try it out. Yum-y. So at this point, if you wanted to, you could make a glaze to put over the top of this. Since we've got chocolate and vanilla, I'd make a nice strawberry glaze, and then you'd have a Neapolitan. So another bite of this, and it's great because it's still just nice and warm. It's sweet, it's chocolatey, vanilla. got the holidays coming up. This would be great to bring to a holiday party. Gotta take another bite. It's good. Okay. So, give it a try. Let me know what you think. If you're watching this on Facebook, please share it with everybody on your contact list. If you're watching this on YouTube, share it with everybody on your contact list as well. Don't forget to subscribe so you see all my recipes. And check out my whole channel to see stuff I've already done. So that'll do it for another episode of Mostly From Scratch. I am your host, Mr. Munchies. So everybody, plate up and chow down.